Hey guys, my name is Andre and I'm a full-time print-on-demand seller. And I've been listing products on Amazon since 2018. And in this video, I'm going to go over everything that you need to know in order to maximize your organic reach on Amazon Merch on Demand. Now, before we jump into the listings themselves, let's look at my sponsored ads data so you can kind of get an idea of what people are typing in. Okay, so here we are in the actual customer search term data that we pay for by running Amazon ads, right? These are from my lottery campaigns. So it's on automatic. So Amazon is choosing what to put in front of the customer, which means that we're going to get the broadest possible search terms showing up for our products. So if we look here in example 1, we've got a cancer niche. You've got a full phrase here, a full phrase here, a partial phrase here. And if you look at the number of impressions, it's pretty obvious that we want to be ranking for funny cancer shirt and funny cancer shirts rather than something that's a phrase or a partial phrase, right? If you just look at the actual percentages. And then we go down into example 2, and it becomes even more obvious that that's what we want because we've got generic search term, all the way down here to where we have only 3 impressions of a full phrase. And it's funny because when you look at Amazon listings out in the wild, so to speak, people are putting a whole lot of emphasis on the full phrase, and people aren't typing that as much as they're typing in variations of the main keyword. And here we are down here, and in this example number 3, we don't even have a phrase show up once. And this is probably 90 days or 120 days of lottery campaign results. So really, when customers are searching in the Amazon search bar, it's almost always like 80% or more of the time some kind of variation on the main keyword that you're targeting. So that can and should be affecting the way that we write our listings. So hitting every indexed part of the Amazon listing with variations of the main keyword should be our number one goal, and everything else is just a bonus. Another thing to keep in mind is that the order of priority of what things get indexed when and how much weighting there is title, brand, bullets, and in a distant fourth is descriptions, which I don't even think gets indexed in Amazon, but it does show up on Google, which has its own value. Okay, so here we are looking at an example of a listing, and I'm going to mark it up to kind of show you what we should be thinking about when we're crafting our own listing, which we'll do a little bit later in the video. So if you remember what was happening when we were looking at our sponsored ads, we saw a lot of main keyword variations. So let's look at the title and brand first, and then we'll drop into the bullets to kind of see what things are going right and what things are going wrong. So when we look at the title, we have this main phrase being emphasized here. And if we remember what kind of priority that was getting when it was showing up in customer searches, it really wasn't much of a percentage of the traffic. So in this example, what would be the main keyword would be something along the lines of bald and balding, receding hair, but bald, balding, those are the main keywords here. And we've got the phrase emphasized in both parts, right? And that's not what we're looking for. We want to make sure that we have things like bald shirt, bald men, maybe different targets of people who might be balding, right? So if we're following the 80-20 rule, we would be doing more variations of bald and balding. So now we are scrolled down into the bullets part, and there are pieces of the bullet points that are used here that make plenty of sense to show up. So if we're thinking about the hierarchy of how important things are for what gets indexed by Amazon, we've got title, brand, and bullets. And if you're going to be including the full phrase of the shirt, it makes sense for that to be in the bullets where it's a little bit less prioritized, but it can still get indexed and give you incremental gains, which isn't nothing. However, what you don't want your bullets to do is add unnecessary fluff that might confuse the algorithm. So if we look down at the listing, we've got this bit here, which kind of makes sense. It's a sarcastic bald guy gift idea. I'm okay with that. We've got the phrase, the specific phrase, which is a good one. And then we've got gag present for dad. That makes sense. But then we start getting into stuffing keywords that might not make a ton of sense. So I'm good with this long tail right here, but I would not be looking at adding daddy, father, husband, uncle, boyfriend, son, papa, friend, adult on Father's Day, because none of that has to do with our main niche of people that are bald or going bald. Because it's not really a Father's Day present, it's not really a gift for dads, it's a gift for balding guys. So including this comma list just isn't doing anything for putting this in front of a relevant audience. And it used to be best practice to show up for all of these generic search terms, and that's really not the case anymore because there are so many more listings on Amazon, exponentially so, compared to when I started in 2018. And nowadays, we're relying a lot more on sales velocity and making sure that our product is really on target for whatever keyword or niche that we're designing for. Now, let's finish out looking at this listing. Okay, so we have a repeat of a moderately on target long tail phrase. And then we have this big spam of bald man accessories, which I can't really imagine somebody typing in. And then we have flag, costume, bracelet, fun hat, decorations, matching outfit, earrings, mug, cup, sticker. These are all extremely irrelevant and are going to confuse the algorithm, which will in turn kind of drop the value of the listing in Amazon's eyes. So while this listing is getting sales from some of its main keyword variations, it would probably be getting more sales if the listing was more on target and related to the main keyword. Okay, so let's lift this listing and then rework it together in a way that makes sense to maximize our reach on Amazon and to preserve our sales velocity and make sure we're not showing up for anything irrelevant. Okay, so we lifted all of the listing data from Amazon and now we're going to rework it together. So if we go back to what we learned when we looked at the sponsored ads data showing what customers are actually typing into Amazon search, we realized that the main niche keyword and variations of that are pretty much all of the search results. So it makes sense that we would make our listing reflect that in order to show up organically for as many of those terms that people are actually typing into the search bar. Okay, so let's look at the listing. So I labeled this by priority. Title gets indexed the most, brand is second, and the bullets are third, and the description doesn't even really show up indexing on Amazon search, but it is relevant for Google, so we'll go ahead and address that too. So we do have the main keyword here with bald, but there's a very relevant secondary keyword that might even be more relevant, and that's balding, and we are missing that from the title. So we have to fix that and make sure that balding is in there too. So we could simply swap out and rearrange by adding balding. That minor change would probably help significantly in terms of organic reach because balding is a very valuable keyword for this niche. Now, when we look at the brand, we have to keep in mind that Amazon does change our listings, and one of the things that they're changing is that if there's a lot of repetition between the title and the brand, they will remove the repetition from the title, which is a pretty bad outcome for us because the title is more important in terms of indexing. So we have to make sure that we are not having this major repetition of the entire phrase. So the simplest way to do that is to make something generic that includes the top two keywords. So something like balding joke designs for bald men would work well as a brand. But when we get down to the bullets, we have a lot more work to do. And we're going to start by getting a small housekeeping thing out of the way. Amazon's very iffy about using the words gifts and presents. And the reason is because they don't really want you talking about the product. They want you talking about the design. It's a part of their best practices. And if you overdo using the words gift, gifts, or presents, you might end up putting your account in a little bit of danger. So let's remove those bits. I'd even remove this shirt word, gag present, balding, joke, gag for dad. This would be a reasonable long tail keyword. But then we get into this comma list that gets that is moderately relevant, but not fully relevant, and it might even get served up if we only use the main keywords of balding and bald in the first place. But let's make it more likely that it gets served to the right people. So we can add in balding to all of these if we want to have it show up for each of these types of targeted people, right? So we could have balding father, husband, uncle, boyfriend, son, papa, friend, and we would probably remove Father's Day, birthday, and Christmas because they're not truly relevant to the design. So removing things that are not truly relevant is a good practice. So that's a usable first bullet, even if it's a little bit questionable in terms of spamming terms. They're at least kind of related to what the topic is because it's talking about balding. Now let's go down into the second bullet. Including the phrase is totally fine. I'm okay with that. It's already been said in bullet 1, so it's not really necessary, but we're going to minimally edit this and then we will go through and do it the way that I would do it next. So I would remove this t-shirt reference regardless, because what if it gets auto uploaded onto a hoodie? Then you're kind of misrepresenting what your product is. And then we go through and we see this complete spam fest where the only thing that makes sense is bald man because nobody's typing in bald man accessories for him/her. It's definitely not related to flags, costumes, bracelets, fun hats, decorations, any of those things. So we go ahead and remove this entire thing, and we've got a much more condensed listing. And this condensed listing will perform better overall because it's not going to be showing up for completely irrelevant things like earrings and hats. So that's the minimum that I would edit it. But let's go ahead and go through and write the listing the way that I would personally write this listing. So if I was writing this listing myself from scratch, I would probably keep something similar for the brand because it is a balding joke design. It's for bald men. We've got our two main keywords, and we even have combinations that would probably get typed in search. I would significantly change the title because I don't want to mention shirt in the title, even though it says, does this shirt make me look bald? I still don't want to trigger some kind of automated response from Amazon. So we're going to remove this, and we'll remove this repetition. Okay, so we can take this title and we can fill it out with things that make sense to include. So we could have it be balding, funny balding joke. We have another potential keyword. We could put receding hair. So we want funny balding, receding hair, joke for bald men. That's well within the 60 character limit. It's got nothing but relevant words in here. And we've made it significantly safer in terms of avoiding automatic Amazon rejections. So now let's drop down into the bullets and rework it to make it more focused and a little bit less keyword spammy, because while most of it is at least somewhat relevant, it would probably be better for us to include nothing but main keyword variations to make sure that we aren't accidentally showing up for the wrong types of searches. So in the bullets, I have no problems with showing the long tail phrase. We can say something like balding joke design, funny balding joke design that says, does this shirt make me look bald? That covers our two main keywords, balding and bald. Now we can go for a few long tail examples that are a little bit less keyword stuffed. We could say something like great bald joke gag design for dad. How about we go balding joke gag design for bald dad or bald husband? Because most people who are going to be buying a gag gift will be family members, right? And I think we get very small incremental gains from some of these. So we are just going to cut most of these out. Okay, so we got balding dad in there. Daddy. There's no way that somebody will be typing in daddy for this particular design. And honestly, we're going to get rid of all of this because balding will capture all of these combinations on its own. So let's not get too fancy here and let's keep it minimalist. That would honestly be enough. It gives us our long tail keyword of the phrase that's used because there is search volume for that whole phrase, so it's not useless to include that. Let's change this to not be capitalized because we're in the bullets. That's referring to the title, so we'll keep that capitalized. And we can include with receding hair. We already covered this in bullet 1. So now we have our bullet. It's much shorter. It's all much more on point, so we're not going to be showing up for things that are irrelevant. And showing up when it's relevant and having a good conversion rate on relevant terms is how we have sales velocity and build our rank on Amazon and show up for more organic searches. And now we also have to fill out the description, but for the most part, this is something that you semi-automate. It's very standard practice, and it has been for a while, to just take a copy of the bullets and drop it into the description so that Google can index it in their search engine. So we could just take this and bring it straight down since we only have one bullet. And there we go. That's how I would do it. Now, there's also a school of thought where you should leave absolutely no doubt that it is about that main keyword. So let's rework it to be even more simple. And some people even go down this simple. Balding designs, bald joke designs. So let's just go with balding designs. And then we could go with funny bald men. So I have a few listings like this and they do sell. I did it mostly as an experiment, but generally speaking, if I'm going with a title plus brand only, it would look a little bit more like this. Funny bald joke for balding men, balding joke designs for bald men. That includes our two main keywords. I could imagine stuffing in receding hairline here, but honestly, it's probably not that necessary. Bald and balding will do just fine. And it would cover balding uncle, balding dad, balding husband, because that'll all show up if you use the keyword balding. Okay, well, I hope you found that to be helpful and not too much of a slog. I know that writing listings is not the most awesome part of doing this business model, but if you take a smart approach to listings, you'll get faster at it. You'll make sure that you're only including the things that are relevant, and you're going to get better organic reach. But all the listing optimizations in the world are not going to help you if you aren't picking niches that you can compete in. So if you want to learn more about how to pick niches effectively and do the right research to make sure that you can sell more designs, then check out this video over here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in that video.